Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you guys are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Jess and I make beauty and lifestyle videos twice a week. If you guys are new to my channel, please don't forget to click that little red subscribe button. It means the absolute world to me. If you are clicking on this video, you are clearly either going to be a mum or you are a new mum. And firstly, I want to say congratulations on your new little bundle. Whether they're here or they're coming, it's such an exciting time and it's so freaking scary, and there is so much information out there and it's such a freaking overload. And I have now done this twice. I have two little boys. My youngest is just turned 2, so I kind of have an idea on things to expect. My boys were freaking day and night water and oil, and so I have some awesome tips, at least I think they're pretty awesome, that worked for both my boys that I think every new mum should be told, because there's so many things they don't tell you. They sort of throw you in the deep end with babies and they're like, too bad. There's no handbook. So congratulations, and let's jump into the new mum tips. First tip is, when you bring your baby home, try not to schedule your feeds. This is specifically for breastfeeding mums. If you guys are bottle feeding, obviously scheduling your feeds is a little bit different. But if you were a breastfeeding mum, and I was a breastfeeding mum for both my boys, it was something that I learnt the hard way the first time around, and the second time around I had to ignore everybody else, because everyone's like, your baby needs to feed every 3 to 4 hours. And while that is true, it's also not, you know, because sometimes your baby will feed every 2 hours, sometimes they'll feed every 5 hours. As long as they are getting enough, it doesn't matter when your baby is feeding, as long as they are putting on weight and they are healthy and they are happy. Please, please, please do not try and like restrict your baby and be like, no, it's not been 3 hours since they've fed. They can't feed. It is so important for your baby to, especially with breastfeeding, for them to be able to comfort feed, for them to be able to cluster feed. And while it is really difficult sometimes, especially with cluster feeding at the beginning, trying not to put your baby on a timer is so important for establishing breast milk and breastfeeding. So this is something that, yeah, like I said, I learned the hard way with my firstborn. I tried to be like, no, it was every 3 hours, and I had to sort of get over that hurdle. Whereas with my secondborn, I ignored everybody, especially when they're like, didn't you just feed your baby? And it's like, I did, but not really. Like, it's none of your business, and it is none of their business. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, a midwife, or anything like that. I was a nurse pre-children, so I have a little bit of medical background, but all of my advice should be taken. Obviously, if your situation is slightly different because your baby is not putting on weight or there is issues with feeding, then please be wary of that. Please follow your doctor's advice. The next thing that I wish somebody had told me is start a bedtime routine sort of as early as possible. I think with both my boys, I started the bedtime routine from about 6 weeks, because before then it's just they're waking up and their day and nights are not really any different. They're sleeping the same amount stretches during the day as they are during the night, and they're feeding just as often. But from the 6-week mark, from whenever I wanted to put them to bed, so for me it was around their sort of like 6 o'clock feed in the evening, we would go through the routine. So I would feed, I would then bath them or give them a good wipe down, put them in their pajamas, and then put them to bed with white noise. White noise is a godsend. We freaking loved white noise, and I have a feeling that might be one of my tips later. We'll get back to that. And that was their bedtime routine. In the first week, it doesn't make any difference, they're still going to wake up. But you'll find within like a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks that will be their longest stretch of sleep. So from like 6 p.m. through, we used to get through to like 10, 11, 12 p.m. before either of them would wake up for their next feed, which worked out really well, especially because I would go to bed a little bit earlier, and then I would manage to get a good stretch of sleep knowing that was then. My boys are now 2 and 3, and they still go to bed between 6 and 7:30. My youngest is 6:30 and my oldest is 7:30. So that is still their bedtime, and that has still worked for us. If you guys want to know sort of what our full bedtime routine was as babies and toddlers, let me know and I can make that video for you. The next step I have is, and this is something that people always say, but when you're a mum, or people don't think about it, or visitors are the worst for this, but do not wake your sleeping baby. Unless your baby is actually having weight issues and need to be woken to be fed, please don't wake your baby. Please leave them to sleep. You waking them up is just going to mess up their sleep schedule, especially if they're sleeping longer stretches overnight. All that means is that your baby is getting enough feeds throughout the day that they're not hungry overnight. And this is awesome. This is a good thing. And so people come in and they're like, oh, you should be waking your baby should be feeding every 4 hours overnight. If your baby does a 6-hour stretch overnight, don't wake them. Like, as long as they are putting on weight and they are happy and they are healthy, yeah, they might feed an extra time during the day. But wouldn't you rather than feed an extra time during the day than have to wake up in the night? Another thing is, like, part of that is, please don't wake your baby because someone comes to visit and they want to hold them. If your baby's happily sleeping in their bassinet, in their docker-tot, in their cot, whatever, and someone comes to visit, do not wake them. Don't move them just for that person. If they want to hold your baby, they can wait. They can wait till they're awake, because you're just disrupting them more and more and more. And it's just not fair to them or to you for them to be expecting you to be putting, to be doing those sorts of things. Babies will eat when they're hungry, so let them sleep. The next thing I have to do is, please, if people come over, don't be a host to them. And I know this is really, really hard because you have visitors come over and you suddenly want to make them a tea or give them something to eat. This is not your job as a new mum. When you have this tiny little human that you are suddenly responsible for and you are keeping alive, especially if you are breastfeeding, your visitors should be helping you. And I didn't listen to this the first time around, and so I really struggled. But the second time around, I did. If someone offered to mop for me, if someone offered to bring me food, if someone offered to put my washing away, take them up on that. It is not your job to be looking after them. They are not there to hold your baby so that you can do something for them. That's no. You are a new mum. You are the one that's sleep deprived. You are the one that they're going to give the baby back, and they're going to go home to their house that's baby free, and they can do their own thing. So please take advantage of people visiting. If someone's coming to visit and you are out of bread, ask them to bring some. It's simple as that. Tip I have is, sometimes babies cry just because they want you to hold them, and that is totally okay. It is so important to bond with your baby. Baby carrying is amazing for this. I wore my baby carrier for my second born like a good 70 or 80% of the time because I had a toddler. It was just so much easier, and he loved it. He loved being close to me, whether it's a baby wrap or a carrier. I had both, each baby to their own. My second baby preferred the carrier, my first baby preferred the wrap. It is an awesome way to get hands free, but just remember that babies sometimes just cry because they want comfort. Sometimes there's not always something wrong. If they're fed, if they're changed, they might just have a little bit of gas. They just might want to be upright and held. So please remember that you're not always doing something. You're not doing something wrong if your baby is crying. Obviously, if you are concerned, listen to your mum intuition. With Lachlan, my oldest, he had silent reflux and an allergy that took us quite a while to be diagnosed because nobody was listening to me. Once we were listened to, and once doctors and specialists started actually being like, oh, that makes sense, then he was a much, much, much happier baby. So please listen to your instincts. The next one is, it is okay to ask for help. Don't feel like it's guilty for you doing something for you. If you need to go and get your hair done, if you want to go and get your nails done, if you want to go out to the supermarket by yourself for an hour, if you want someone to watch your baby so you can have a nap, please, please, please don't feel guilty. I know mum guilt is real, and I still feel mum guilt with my boys when I give them to their grandparents or I send them to kinder or daycare. So that I can do work or bits and pieces or things for myself. And it's really hard to overcome that, but it's so important for you to take that time and to do those things for yourself, because you are just as important as baby. And I feel like when baby is born, so the whole way through your pregnancy, you are just as important to everybody because they want to make sure your health and baby's health is good. Baby is born and suddenly everyone forgets about mum. And your health, your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health is just as important as babies. And so you really need to look after yourself. And so if you need to go do those things, or if you need 10 minutes to yourself, you need an hour to yourself, it is totally okay. Please take the help. Please ask for help. It really does make a huge difference. I'm only going to say this once. this one is just, I'm only gonna say it once because it's only a necessary sentence. Fed is best. There is no breast is best, bottle is best. You will get 101 million opinions. Your midwives, your nurses, your doctors, your friends, your family, your in-laws, your mothers, your dads, everyone will have an opinion on this. And fed is best. If your baby is happy and fed, it does not matter how they are fed. I did both. I breastfed and I bottle fed for different reasons. Both my boys were breastfed initially, and then at different times they moved on to the bottle. And there is nothing wrong with either. My boys were happy, they were healthy, and they are both healthy, happy little 2 and 3 year olds that are exactly where they need to be, and yeah, fed is best. The next thing is, please try not to compare your baby with someone else's. Babies will do things at their own pace. They will roll at their own pace. They will talk at their own pace. They will walk at their own pace. It's the way it is. Obviously, if you're getting to, you know, way past milestones, if your baby's not rolling by 6 months, yes, maybe look at getting a physio assessment. But, you know, don't stress too much about those things. Like, my boys were both not late walkers, but they didn't walk until they were 1. Lachlan was a really early talker, Isaac was a little bit late. But then Lachlan didn't stay full sentences until later, whereas Isaac says more now. You know, they didn't get their first teeth until 8 and 10 months. You know, every baby is completely and totally different. The Wonder Weeks app is wonderful. If you guys don't have the Wonder Weeks app, it's really great to check when your baby's going through leaps, and like emotional leaps and mental leaps and physical leaps or whatever. And they sort of give you things of your baby might start doing this and that and then, which is a great guideline, but sometimes your baby's not, and sometimes they've already done it. So it's so different. Every child is different. Like I said, my boys were day and night completely different. And so you might have one baby that does, you know, walks at 9 months and talks really early, and then your next baby doesn't walk until 13 months because they've got an older sibling to do everything for them. So please just try not to compare. The next thing is, please take all advice with a grain of salt, including my own. I'm only giving you my experiences, and I'm trying to keep these as general as possible, but everyone has an experience, whether it be a brother, a sister, a niece, a nephew, or their own children, and they will all have advice. And it's very overwhelming to get all that advice. It's very overwhelming for someone to be like, this is what you should do, and this is what you need to have, blah, 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 blah. And I can sit here and I can tell you everything that worked for my children. Everything. You know, I loved the Dockatop. I loved white noise. I loved co-sleeping. Those are all things that worked really well for my boys. But they might not work for your baby. And that's okay if they don't. And it's okay to not always listen to the advice you're given, because one person's baby is going to be, like I said, completely different to another's. What works for you, as long as it is safe, is what's going to work. So take everything with a grain of salt. You know, you don't have to ignore them, but sometimes just smiling and nodding is enough. Finally, this is not necessarily a tip, but it's, I think, one of the most crucial parts of this video, and that is to tell you that you are doing amazing. You are doing an awesome job. You are doing the most important job in the world. You are raising and responsible for a very small human. You are solely responsible. You are being solely relied on for sustenance and life force for a small baby. You're growing the next generation, or you've just birthed the next generation, and that is so amazing. And you are doing a wonderful job, no matter what you're breastfeeding or you're bottle feeding or your baby sleeps through the night or they don't. You are doing awesome, and you need to remember that. And sometimes someone needs to tell you that, because it's so hard to tell yourself, because you will make mistakes, you will misstep, you will absolutely miss tons of things about your pre-baby life. Sometimes you will miss sleep and sleep-ins, and sometimes you will want to sit there and cry, and it is totally okay to do that, especially as a new mum. It is so incredibly life-changing to have a baby. Nothing prepares you for being a mum the first time, and to be honest, there's nothing prepares you for being a mum a second time either. But you're doing an incredible job. You are doing the best that you can, and you just need to remember that. It is fantastic. You should be proud. So I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I tried to keep, like I said, all of the videos tips as general as possible, but these are all things that I wish someone had told me the first time. I had to learn them all on my own, and there will be things you will learn all on your own. If you guys do want a newborn must-haves video or a must-haves videos or a new mum must-have video, I can do that for you if you're interested, because I had, like I said, quite a few things that worked for both my boys, and like I said, they were day and night babies, and so maybe they'll work for you. But if not, thank you so much for watching this video. If anything, I really hope that this just gives you some motivation and some confidence, and a little bit of praise, because you're doing an awesome job. If you guys are new to my channel, please don't forget to click the subscribe button. I will see you guys later on in the week for my next video. Have a wonderful day. Bye!